Hello, everybody. Professor Barth is here, Associate Professor of History at Arizona State University. Today, June 24th, 2022, is a day of celebration, a day of life. The most morally repugnant, abhorrent, vile decision in the history of the United States Supreme Court, Roe v. Wade, has finally, after 50 years, been overturned. The issue now will go back to the states so that the people of each state can decide democratically whether their particular abortion policy, whether or not to allow it, and if to allow it, up to which week and under what regulations. This is a victory, but it's a battle within a larger war, because we can't take our eye off the ball here. Those of us who believe that life in the womb deserves protection, that human beings in the womb have a natural right to life. For us, the end game undoubtedly is a prohibition of abortion in all 50 states. But we will take this victory. Now, the irony is, you hear people cry about democracy. Well, actually, this is a very small d democratic decision. The Supreme Court is saying essentially, hey, look, the people can decide for themselves. They can, you may elect your state legislators, your democratically elected legislature, and they will decide via democracy, as opposed to 9 unelected Ivy League educated justices on the Supreme Court. But this is a massive victory. The fact of the matter is, and euphemisms aside, and one of the telling things, that the pro-abortion side is in the wrong. One of the telling signs is that they constantly have to refer to euphemisms. There is no question. It is a biological fact that this is life. This is life. There's no question about that. The question is whether or not it's okay to kill that life. But these are, and even the word "kill," that's not that is a factual term. You could say terminate that life, but in any other context, if you're talking about the animal world or even the plant world, when you're talking about terminating life, you're killing that life. Okay. And this is human life from conception. This is human life. That's not debatable. And so the question really is it okay to kill this life in the womb? And many Americans believe it is okay to kill this life in the womb. I believe that it is absolutely a crime against humanity. And Americans more and more are waking up to the fact, and as we'll see today, we're going to go through and we're going to look at baby development from week 8 to week 26. We're going to look at it, and there's just no doubt this is life. And even in 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 20 week baby in the womb is every bit as human as you or I. They are no less human than us. These are human beings, period. This is a human being. There's just no way around it. And you could try to, again, you could use all the euphemisms you want. And you know what? Roe versus Wade is the new Dred Scott. It's the new Dred Scott. And the pro-slavery side used a whole lot of euphemisms too. By the way, it was the Christians who led the opposition to slavery in antebellum era, and it's the Christians who are leading the opposition to abortion in our era. Dred Scott was a vile decision as well. Just poorly argued, but even beyond the weak constitutional argument, just abhorrent on its face. And it used the euphemism of property. Well, the pro-abortion movement uses the euphemisms of reproductive health. Reproductive health. Killing a baby in the womb. Reproductive health. Choice. Well, what? Choice for what? Choice to kill a life? You don't have the choice to kill a life. And actually, there's a property argument, just like in Dred Scott. When you hear "my body, my choice," which the COVID vaccine debate just showed that that wasn't a sincere argument. But even if you take it on its face, my body, my choice, that's a property argument. They're saying that this human life is my property. And so I can do whatever I want with it, including killing this life. And you look at the procedure, the abortion procedures, beginning around week 9 or 10, here's a procedure. And you know what? People don't like to hear this, but you've got to hear it. You've got to hear it. This is what happens. This is what has happened to tens of millions of babies over the last 50 years. Beginning around week 9 or 10, the abortion procedure is this. Pliers are inserted through the cervix. The abortionist then seizes the leg or the arm of the baby with the pliers, and then with a twisting motion tears it from the baby's body. And this continues until only the head remains, and then finally the skull is crushed and pulled out. That's the abortion procedure beginning around week 9 or 10. Now, beginning around week 14, the baby's skull is too large to pass through the cervix. So the abortionist, the murderer, has to be more aggressive. And so the abortionist inserts forceps through the cervical canal into the uterus, grasps one of the baby's legs, and begins tearing the baby apart. The baby is alive through this process, kicking, flailing its legs and arms. Okay? Kicking and flailing its legs and arms, and the abortionist is, with the forceps, tearing that baby apart. And then the abortionist jams blunt-tipped surgical scissors into the base of the skull. This is needed in order to pass the head through the cervix. The head's too big, the skull's too big to pass through the cervix, so they got to jam blunt-tipped surgical scissors into the base. The brain is sucked out. That causes the skull to collapse, and the baby's head is then able to pass through the cervix. That is what's been going on in our country for the last 50 years. Do you understand how gross and how to even call it? It's not enough to call it a crime. This is beyond. I mean, this is going to Roe versus Wade and all the tens of millions of abortions in this country are a massive blot on the United States of America. Massive blot. And you know what? The United States is fairly unique in this. If you look at European countries, first of all, in Latin America, abortion is basically banned throughout most of Latin America. Actually, if you look at the global south, Africa, most African countries ban abortion. South America, Central America, most of those countries ban abortion. Middle East, most of those countries ban abortion. Guess what? They're right. They're right. They know what they're doing. It's really just the West, the United States, Europe, and then China. Okay, and like North and South Korea. But even in Europe, I mean, the United States is extremely radical on abortion. I mean, remember, the Dobbs decision was about a Mississippi law that prohibited abortion at 15 weeks. Well, if you look at I've got a list here of the abortion laws in Europe. In Portugal, abortion is banned after 10 weeks, and then abortion is banned after 12 weeks. 12 weeks. In Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, at 12 weeks. Most of the states in the United States allow abortion up to 24 weeks. Or at least up to 22 weeks. About 22 weeks, I think, is the norm. 22 weeks? Are you kidding me? And even if you accept that abortion is okay in the 10 to 12 week range, which I absolutely do not, and I think you'll see why in a moment, even if you accept that argument, 22 weeks, you couldn't make your, quote, choice to kill that baby earlier in your pregnancy. You had to wait 10 more weeks. In France, abortion is banned after 14 weeks. How many people on the left in the United States even know about this? Abortion is banned after 14 weeks in France and in Spain. Sweden takes up to 18 weeks, and then the two most pro-abortion European countries in Europe, Netherlands and the United Kingdom, allowed up to 24 weeks. That's more. So the Netherlands and the United Kingdom are the only ones that are really on board with the radical United States policy. And you're going to hear a lot today about, most Americans are opposed to abolishing Roe. That's a misleading poll, because most Americans don't really quite understand Roe. They think, they hear, overturn Roe, that it's going to make abortion illegal for all stages of the pregnancy in all 50 states. Actually, if you look at the polls, a majority of Americans oppose abortion after 15 weeks. Now, again, life begins at conception. So if you're consistent, you've got to have a complete ban on abortion. Okay? So I'm not endorsing that majority view from Americans, but most Americans oppose it after 15 weeks. So when you hear the polls about how Americans feel about Roe, they're not going to tell you that poll. Okay? So let's take a look. This is courtesy of a website called The Bump. Let's take a look at the stages of pregnancy and why I oppose abortion in the first trimester. Okay? The majority of Americans seem to think it's okay in the first trimester, but I think as people learn what abortion entails, what I just described, the gross procedure, the offensive, just vile procedure that I described earlier, as Americans learn that, and that applies in the first trimester, opposition to first trimester abortion is also going to increase. Mark my words. So let's take a look at that first trimester. This is, again, courtesy of a website called The Bump. Let's take a look at a baby at 8 weeks. All right? Baby at 8 weeks. At 8 weeks, this is an 8-week-old baby in the womb. The baby measures about a half to 3/4 of an inch. Small baby. Wow, what a baby. Look at that life. That is a life. That is a human being. 100%. There's no question that this is a human being. The baby's arms and legs are moving around already by this point at 8 weeks. The arms, legs, fingers, and toes are all becoming more defined. You'll notice webbing, connective webbing between the fingers and toes. That will drop off in a couple weeks. The nose and upper lip are beginning to form. Tiny little eyelids and ears have formed. What a miracle. What a miracle. Taste buds are forming at 8 weeks. Wow. All right. Let's look at 9 weeks. At 9 weeks, baby is 1 inch. 1 inch long and weighs about 1/10 of an ounce. Small little baby, but wow, what a miracle this little baby is. Look at those toes. Look at those toes. This is a human life, everyone. This is a human life. A heartbeat can be detected by a Doppler around this week, 9 weeks, although the heartbeat began around week 6. The baby is beginning to develop distinct facial features. Earlobes, fingers and toes are now more discernible, as you can see. Still got a little bit of a web there, but definitely more discernible. Look at that. Wow. What an amazing little life. This is at 9 weeks. The pro-abortion crowd says this life is not a human. This is a this life, there's nothing objectionable about killing this life. That's what the pro-abortion side says. I'll ask you, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? You'll notice the arms are bent at the elbow. Muscles are forming. The head is a little more rounded and straightened up. What an amazing little life that is. That's at 9 weeks. At 10 weeks, let's take a look. 10 weeks. At this point, the baby is now officially a fetus instead of an embryo. I refer to them as, I know the scientific term, of course, is fetus, just like the scientific term for a human being, Homo sapien, but we don't say Homo sapien, we say human being, and so I'm going to say baby. But this is when it technically, from a scientific angle, becomes a fetus. This is at 10 weeks. Again, let me ask you, is this a life? Is this a life? I dare you to try to argue that this is not a life. How is this not a life? And if you can agree that it's a life, is it your right to kill this life, to terminate this life? Okay, so at this point, cartilage and bones are forming. Major organs such as the brain, heart, and lungs are continuing to form. Fingernails and hair is starting to appear. Amazing. Amazing how God works in developing babies. The baby is beginning to swallow and is starting to kick. Starting to kick. What a little miracle of a life. All right, let's look at, and by the way, so in all 50 states until today, this is why this is such a wonderful decision. Overturning Roe is such a wonderful thing. Roe and then later Casey versus Planned Parenthood mandated that states allow the killing of these little lives. You were not allowed as a state to prohibit taking pliers and ripping and dismembering this baby. Is it okay to dismember this baby? It's only 10 weeks old. Everyone says the consensus is it's okay to dismember this baby. I disagree. Let's take a look at 11 weeks. Here we go. 11 weeks. Baby at this point is about as big as a lime. And you'll notice they've colored in the brain. So brain development, look at that. The little baby's brain. It's a funny little guy or gal. I don't know what gender, sex this baby is. Wow, look at that. The fingers and toes are no longer webbed. Wow. Tooth buds, hair follicles, nail beds are forming. What an amazing miracle of a life. It's a teeny tiny life, but it's a life. It's 100% human. Don't let anybody try to persuade you otherwise. This is at 12 weeks. Baby is now as big as a plum, about 2 inches long at 12 weeks. Again, in all 50 states in the U.S., under Roe and Casey versus Planned Parenthood, states were mandated to allow the dismembering of these lives. Baby is as big as a plum. Eyes and nose are continuing to take shape. Fingernails are developing. Fingernails. Teeth buds crop up. Organs such as the kidneys and intestines are growing. And at 12 weeks, the baby begins to develop reflexes. In fact, if the mother pokes her belly, the baby moves. Now, the mother can't feel the baby move at this point, but we know through ultrasound, and that's what's really revolutionized this. Ultrasound has changed the entire game. We know through ultrasound that the baby moves if the mother pokes her belly. What an amazing miracle. This is a 12-week-old baby in the first trimester. Let's look at 13 weeks. This is the final week of the first trimester. The baby by this point has vocal cords. Oh, look at that. This baby's sucking his or her thumb. Her thumb. Amazing what God does in the development of life in the womb. Look at those little toes. This is 13 weeks, everyone. This is the first trimester. This is a first trimester baby. A small baby. Very small baby, but a first trimester baby. Vocal cords, teeth, and even fingerprints. The baby now has distinctive, unique fingerprints. At 13 weeks, this is a human life with a separate identity from the mother and from the father. This is a human life. Let's look at 14 weeks. 14 weeks. Now, baby's as big as a peach. You like these little analogies. They're all over the internet. Baby as big as a peach. The baby now can wiggle his or her toes. Wow. Again, begins thumb sucking. We saw that in the prior image. Man, isn't this amazing technology? Love it. 14 weeks. The baby's wiggling their toes. Kidneys are making urine. The liver and the spleen are operating. The baby around this point begins to develop a thin peach-like fuzz. Hair all over the body to keep the baby warm, and the baby begins to hear sounds and voices from the outside. Isn't that amazing? So if you're a pregnant mother at 14 weeks, or if you're the father of that baby, you can begin talking to that baby at 14 weeks, and they can hear you. They can hear you. Whether or not they can recognize your voice quite yet is uncertain. We know definitely by around the 20-week period they can, but what an amazing thing. Now we're in early second trimester now. This is 15 weeks. Now this is 15 weeks. Baby is now as big as an orange, about 4 inches in length. This is getting a little big. This is a big baby. 4 inches length and about 2.5 ounces. What a beautiful life. Now, the Dobbs decision was over a Mississippi law that said you cannot abort your child at or after 15 weeks. And that's so offensive. Whoa, what a radical law, the legacy media told us. So radical. Wait, what? How's that a radical? Look at this baby, man. What? Look at those ears. Wow. Wow. Now let me ask you, is that radical to say that this baby should not be dismembered? That this baby should not be dismembered with forceps and have its limbs torn apart while it's kicking and flailing around? I don't think so. 15-week baby. Let's now move to 16 weeks. Here's 16 weeks. Baby is now growing hair. Oh, there's got a thumb sucker. Growing hair. Eyelashes. Eyebrows are not fully developed yet, but those eyebrows. Again, look at that ear. This is a baby at 16 weeks. Amazing. Unbelievable. Look at those beautiful hands. Wow. Unbelievable. That's at 16 weeks. Let's look at 17 weeks. Here we go. 17 weeks. At 17 weeks, baby's cartilage is turning to bone. Oh, I see it. The baby's getting some baby fat. Look at that baby fat. Starting to grow a little bit. 17 weeks. Let's take a look at 18 weeks. 18 weeks. By this point, baby's working their muscle. Wow, that's a fat baby. Of course, keep in mind, this is still a very small baby. Okay? Probably like 5.5 inches long at this point. Maybe like 7 ounces. But baby's working their muscles and just moving all over. Unbelievable. Moving all over, twisting, rolling around, punching, kicking. Yawning. Babies are yawning by this point. A yawning baby. Beautiful. Unbelievable life. And of course, that forceps comes in the cervix. Guess what? That baby's kicking. That's what we call resistance. That baby, they have an instinct for life, and when that baby senses those forceps coming in, they're going to resist that. They're going to resist it with everything they've got, but unfortunately, they're powerless against the might of the knife. Absolutely, abortion is so brutal. I'm sorry to take away. This is a celebration of life, but then we have to remind ourselves the death that's been involved in our nation for the last 50 years. The death, the knife, the blood on our land. Just atrocious what we've done to our nation's kids. Atrocious what we've done to our nation's kids. Let's look at. By the way, disproportionately black. Disproportionately black. Black babies are disproportionately murdered in the womb over white babies. Okay? All right, Black Lives Matter. All Black Lives Matter. How about that? All Black Lives Matter. You agree with that? Or do you disagree with that? I agree with that statement. All Black Lives Matter. All baby lives matter. Just babies' lives matter. How about that? Babies' lives matter. Let's look at 19 weeks. 19 weeks. Baby is now 6 inches long and 8.5 ounces. 8.5 ounces. What a beautiful baby. And of course, they're showing here the brain development. What a powerful brain. Not fully developed yet, but it's a advanced brain. This is life, everyone. Can you imagine if all of a sudden on like Mars, for example, there was a life form that was 1/100th of the life that this is? It would be news splashed all over the world. Life is discovered, and yet we have this right in front of our eyes, and we have to debate whether or not this is a life. This is a life. So at 19 weeks, nerve cells have developed for the sense of taste, hearing, sight, and smell. All those nerve cells are developing in the brain at 19 weeks. Sense of taste, hearing, sight, and smell. That's 19 weeks. And let me just remind you, at 19 weeks, Alabama, Georgia, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Wisconsin, California, Hawaii, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Washington, Alaska, Colorado, Washington, D.C., New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont and others say it's legal to dismember this baby with forceps. It's legal to take the knife to this baby and to suck its brains out. Sorry to be graphic, but we have to be graphic. If we're going to meet this head on, you got to tell the truth. No more euphemisms. Not doing the euphemisms anymore. We're not doing it. We're going to describe what happens. People got to know that this is a life, and that the way that this life is destroyed is in the manner I've been describing. It's sick. But to understand the sickness, we have to diagnose the sickness. 20 weeks. Let's take a look at 20 weeks. At 20 weeks, baby is 6.5 inches long. That's as long as a banana. As long as a banana. 10 ounces in weight. What a beautiful baby. Beautiful baby. Wow. Look at that. All right. Let's take a look at 21 weeks. We're going to just take it to 26. There are states that permit abortion beyond 26 weeks. That is so, I'm just going to say demonic at this point. I'm not even going to bother. We're just going to take it to 26 weeks, because if you haven't been persuaded by this, I think you really have to question your morals and your value structure. 21 weeks, baby is now 10.5 inches, and the reason for the big jump, baby is now measured full body length from instead of crown to rump. So 10.5 inches full body length, almost 13 ounces. Almost 13 ounces. Baby at this stage is just moving around like crazy. Heavy reflexes. When they feel pressure on the belly, they push back. Some babies begin to grow head hair. Right? Some babies are baldies. I was bald coming out of the womb. But some babies begin developing head hair. Let's look at 22 weeks. This is the final week for a whole lot of states in the United States. At 22 weeks, really, you need 22 weeks to decide if what to do with this life. 22 weeks. When women, you find out you're impregnated by 6th, 7th week. Okay, 22 weeks. Here's a 22-week-old baby, 11 inches long, 15 ounces in weight, as large as a coconut. As large as a coconut's pretty large. Coconut's pretty large. Next time you go to a grocery store, pick up a coconut and remind yourself that a 22-week-old baby in the womb is that large. The baby's brain and nerve endings are developed enough to sense touch in a full and complete manner. Okay, so baby, they feel this. Okay. They feel pain when put under the knife by these brutal abortionists. Baby's eyes and lips are more developed and beginning to look like a newborn. This baby's beginning to look like a newborn. Now, they can't survive outside the womb, although I think maybe there have been some at 22 weeks who have. I mean, viability keeps getting pushed further and further back because of remarkable technology. But around this time, actually, it's possible if you have to give birth suddenly for whatever reason, that maybe the baby can make it. The baby has eyebrows, eyelashes, lips, and fingernails. Wonderful life. 23 weeks. Let's take a look at 23 weeks. California and Hawaii and Maine and Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Washington, they say it's okay to terminate this life. And the graphic here wants to show the organ development on the inside, so it's a little translucent. Wow. Amazing. 23 weeks. Baby is 11.5 inches long, a little more than 1 pound, as large as a grapefruit. The baby is beginning to form nipples. The face is fully formed. Just needs a little extra fat to fill out. So you get an ultrasound at this point at 23 weeks. You have a pretty good idea of what that baby's going to look like. Actually, check this image out. This is an ultrasound of a baby in the womb, and then the baby outside of the womb. Look at that. This is the same baby. This is a human life. Nobody would dispute that. Well, guess what? That's a human life as well. There's no disputing it. Okay, you don't that's not biology. You don't magically to say that you magically turn human when you exit the womb. Where do you get that from science? That's not science. Okay, this is a human life. Okay, and if you value human life, you're going to protect that life. At 23 weeks, the face is fully formed. The baby is entertained by listening to your voice and sounds from the outside. The baby responds to voices. So if you're pregnant, mom, dad, you should talk to your baby, sing to your baby. They enjoy that. And they begin recognizing your voice. They know your voice. They know you well. And in states like California, guess what? The baby can hear the abortionist talking about what he's about to do to that little life. The baby can hear that. Doesn't understand it, but begins to once it begins to feel the knife. At 23 weeks, gaining fat, kicking, punching, all of it. 24 weeks, baby is as big as a cantaloupe. Whoa, baby's mouth is open too, apparently. Baby's as big as a cantaloupe. The skin is less translucent than it was before. It's developing a sort of a fresh pinkish color. The baby is continuing to put on baby fat. Eyelashes, eyebrows, head of hair continues to grow. The lungs are not yet fully developed, and that's one of the challenges for premature preemies, as they call them, premature babies. They can make it at this week, actually. They're viable. I know somebody whose 5-year-old son was born at 25 weeks. Okay, so there's viability here, but because the lungs are not fully developed, they're going to need a lot of assistance for a few months. Also, the brain is very advanced, but still growing, still developing. But wow, what a life! California says nope, you can't. This is not life. California, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi say this is not a life. Do you agree? Is this not a life? I mean, that's the official position now of the Democratic Party, that this is not a life. This is a 25-week-old baby. This is not a life? This life should not be protected? This life does not have what Thomas Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence. Rights endowed by our Creator, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Somehow this baby's not entitled to that. I don't think so. This baby has a right to live. Has a right to live. This is an independent human life. And thank God that the Supreme Court made a move, but it's just a beginning, because there are other states who will continue to butcher babies just like this one, even after this decision. But by 25 weeks, the baby is almost 14 inches in length and 1.5 pounds. 14 inches in length and 1.5 pounds. Has more fat, more hair, and guess what? The eyelids may begin to open this week. All right, final week, and it's almost unreal that there are states that permit abortion after this 26th week, but we're going to stop here. The ones that have no limit: Colorado, D.C., New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. Wow, how progressive. How progressive of you. You're so progressive. At 26 weeks, baby is 14 inches and almost 2 pounds. Almost 2 pounds. As big as a head of lettuce. Baby's learned to recognize the sound of your voice in the last couple weeks and reacts to bright lights. Bright lights come on in a room, and the baby knows it. So, that's all. I couldn't help it. I had to make this video. I hope it's helpful. Hey, share this video if someone is unconvinced, especially if someone's like, hey, look, I'm okay with midterm, second trimester abortions, but, 12 weeks, I don't see any problem with 12 weeks. Share this video. And if you want to check out these images, it's from a website called thebump.com. You can look at these images. So, all right, until next time, God bless. Bye.